Good morning. Good morning and welcome to our worship this morning. It's great to have you with us. Glad to be sharing this space at a distance with our worship associate, Larry McCarthy, our pianist, Stu Shelton, Daniel Goodsit in the tech room with John Forsyth, our technology chair, hovering close by but not too close, and Steve Espinoza, who's going to help us find the melodies this morning. So I'm glad to be here with all of them. I'm glad to be here with you on this beautiful Naples morning. We are working our way through the summer, and with that hope that eventually the days will begin to cool. But that hope resides within us, as always. So welcome. Let's settle into our morning's worship with our prelude. Each day provides us with an opportunity to love again, to hurt again, to embrace joy, to experience unease, to discover the tragic. Each day provides us with an opportunity to live. This day is no different. This hour no more unique than the last, except maybe today, maybe now, among friends and fellow journeyers, maybe for the first time, maybe silently, we can share ourselves and open our hearts to the possibilities of love. Please join me in the chalice lighting response on the screen. In the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment, we gather this day. May the flame we now kindle be to us a symbol of the unity we seek. And I hope you're all ready. You're standing up, you've got your shoulders back and ready to sing. And Steve is going to lead us in our opening hymn, Let It Be a Dance.
Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you, through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Let a dancing song be heard. Play the music, say the words, and fill the sky with sailing birds. Let it be a dance, let it be a dance, let it be a dance. Learn to follow, learn to lead. Feel the rhythm, feel the need. To reap the harvest, plant the seed. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you, through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Everybody turn and spin. Let your body learn to bend. And like a willow with the wind, let it be a dance, let it be a dance, let it be a dance. Let the sunshine, let it rain. Share the laughter, bear the pain. And round we go again. Let it be a dance.
This past week, once again, we struggle with the violence that seems inherent in our culture. We struggle to understand, and yet we are more obvious witnesses, more careful in watching and witnessing to what is happening and allowing it, I believe, to settle uncomfortably in our souls. This is such a difficult time for each one of us and for our nation, struggling to figure out how we exist in this time of separation when we need so much to be together, to be talking things through, to be working to help each other understand, to help each other feel, to help each other love. None of us have all the answers. Some of us don't have any answers at all. Just a sense that there may be in this space some hope, a more wider recognition of a need to move and change and grow. So as you struggle, as I do, with this time and with this world, let's understand the importance of us, even as we're separated. This time on Sunday morning, the other times we have an opportunity to come together and express ourselves, to learn and understand and find our voice, hear the voices of others. That's what this place, this community, this now community without walls is all about. And what our service is about today. So know that my heart is with you every day as we work our way through the minutes and hours, trying to find that hope for a better outcome, a better future. We center ourselves every Sunday with a centering hymn. This week it's around. And so once again, I hope you'll join in. Steve will be our song leader. I'll jump in. Building Bridges, a song that is a traditional English folk tune that the women of Greenham Common and their peace vigil back in the 80s wrote together. Building Bridges.
Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me with all of our voices and all of our visions? Friends, we could make such sweet harmony with all of our voices between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me with all of our voices and all of our visions? I reach out to you. Such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me with all of our voices and all of our visions? Friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
I have perhaps already expressed our common sorrows and perhaps our joys in being together this morning. I do have one concern I want to share with you this morning. First, I want to invite you to look in your emails if you haven't already and find our Caring Corner. But one item that was left off the Caring Corner this week was that Walter Noyes is in the hospital at Physicians Regional, having undergone surgery this past, the end of this week, and waits for another surgery on Monday, intestinal surgery. And things are delicate, though Walter responded, at least visually, when Adrian Katie was able to speak to him with the phone in his ear. So our thoughts and our love go to Walter in this time, and understanding that many in our congregation struggle both physically and mentally during this time. As always, we extend our love, our best thoughts to all those who are suffering from the virus right now, from all those who are on the front lines of both care and research, and to all those who are on the front line of protest, working to change the way we think about equality and love, the way we hope to expand that idea. And so our thoughts are with all people. We share our love with those who disagree, who struggle to understand what's happening and why change is needed. opening our hearts to hope. Join me now in the spirit of meditation. Spirit of life and love, aware that we are all part of one great cosmic dance. Our Unitarian Universalist principles suggest that we approach every encounter with other beings and with our earth holding an attitude of respect, perhaps even of love. And yet, we know how hard it is to bring this spirit of respect, let alone of love, down to the everyday, where our own wants and needs, our own anxieties and fears can hold us back and keep us from opening to this world with a loving heart. What would it take, I wonder, for us to see the holy or the divine in each person we meet? Those we think we know and those we don't. The fellow congregant we look forward to seeing, as well as the member who seems difficult. Our neighbor who we smile at every day, and the one who seems to ignore our advances. What would it take for us to be worthy of that same love and respect from others? Martin Luther King Jr. spoke of peace not as some distant goal, but the means by which we arrive at that goal. Building beloved community in every encounter. Learning and changing and growing as we go. So may it be with each and all of us. Let's share a few moments of silence.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to serve as worship associate for this morning's service. The author of our first reading is Emma Watson, who is a youth leader from the First Unitarian Church of Columbus, Ohio. In her piece titled, "I Choose I Am," Emma writes about her UU community. I've always been more enchanted by the idea of chosen family. The thought that we are each making a choice to be here, in this family, in this community, is powerful. We have actively chosen to come and be here. I'm not stuck with you because you're my cousin and I'm not allowed to be rude. I could leave if I wanted to, but I don't because of the way we have each nurtured this community. I choose to be stuck with you for better or worse. And we have continuously made this choice over and over again. Every time we attend worship, every time we donate our time and energy, every time we clasp hands in meditation is a promise. I am here for you. The DNA of this community may be metaphorical, but it exists within me. The words covenant and right relation are second nature, placed on my tongue almost since birth, but they are words that I have chosen to bring into my life. My heart beats with the blood of this church, pounding out, I choose you, I am here. This is a safe place, a place of learning, a place of compassion, a space created by the very idea of love. We chose to build a sanctuary because we chose to be together. There is no use for a church of people who hate each other or for a church of ghosts. We make the choice to stay stuck together, even when we don't even want to be in the same room. But we always come back to the table because we choose to be together. Through thick and thin, we have chosen love. And in hard times, struggling times, times that we face every day, we come together even closer. We make the choice to listen to each other, we make the choice to pick each other up, and we make the choice to love each other. We have built this community with our commitment to that love. We do not have a bloodline, but we have a deep, unconditional love that runs through us all. We choose that love. We choose each other. The mission statement of UUCGN says we are a welcoming congregation, freely seeking intellectual and spiritual growth, striving to create a larger community of peace, justice, and love. Whether you are a longtime member or friend, have joined us more recently, or have found us for the first time today, and whether you're watching us live or through the recorded version, everyone is welcome, and we are grateful that you have chosen to spend this time with us. If you're watching live, you can use the chat button to connect with others who are also watching now. And don't forget that you can connect with each other at any time through our virtual coffee hour on Facebook. Even in this time of separation, each of us is encouraged to grow spiritually in fellowship with others by joining in worship and in online opportunities that offer education, reflection, and discussion. We try to do all this in the spirit of love and acceptance, reaching out with our hearts, offering mutual support in these difficult times. If you're new, we would love to hear from you. If you'd like to be added to our mailing list or find out more about this wonderful congregation, please check out our website at www.uunaples.org or send an email to office@uunaples.org. When you sign up for the mailing list, you'll receive our weekly and monthly emails that provide details and links to learning and fellowship opportunities. I do have a couple of special announcements this morning about upcoming events to share. This Thursday, September 3rd at 7 p.m., the weekly Q&A with the minister returns. Reverend Tony Fisher will welcome questions on relevant topics and will look especially to consider last Sunday's service on our covenantal tradition and this week's subject of how we live and work together in love. In the following weeks, look for Wonderful Wednesdays to return on September 9th with a presentation from Gene Goldberg on the politicization of scientific issues in the age of COVID-19. September 10th will see the first of a series of 3 90-minute sessions to discuss the first of our 2020 Common Book Reads, An Indigenous Peoples' History of the United States. And beginning on October 5th, our popular forum program switches to Monday evenings at 7 p.m. Now is the time for us to express our gratitude to this community, its work, its vision, in all the ways in which it nourishes our lives. From its welcoming doors and sheltering walls to its good and generous people, from the sanctuary of its memorial garden to its outreach in the wider community. For all these things, this morning's offerings for the ongoing mission of this congregation will be gratefully received. Please consider mailing a contribution today. You will find our address on the website at www.uunaples.org, or more simply, find the donate button on the website and follow the prompts. Thank you. Reverend Marta Valentin is the Professional Development Director in the Ministry and Faith Development Staff Group at UUA. She has authored a book of meditations. She calls this one Waiting. Step into the center, come in from the margins. I will hold you here. Don't look back or around. Don't look out or away. Life is in here, between you and me. In this tiny space where I end and you begin, hope lives. In this precious tiny space, no words need be whispered to tell us we are one. You and I, we make the circle, if we choose to.
In spring of 2013, I officiated at my first wedding. I wasn't yet ordained, and so I had to get a one-day dispensation from the state of Massachusetts to perform this wedding. But I was an intern at the Unitarian Universalist Church, First Parish in Concord, Massachusetts, and this young couple had asked me if I would perform the ceremony. The reading that Larry just read had been newly published the year before, and the young woman of the couple who loved to dance and loved the Unitarian Universalist way, much like Emma Merchant in the reading this morning, asked that that be a part of the service. Another part of the service that I discovered while preparing for that wedding came from Anne Morrow Lindbergh, wife of Charles Lindbergh, and experienced so many things and tragedies in her life. And she wrote something that I've used in many wedding ceremonies since then. I think just wonderful words about relationship. She writes, "A good relationship has a pattern like a dance and is built upon some of the same rules. The partners do not need to hold on tightly because they move confidently in the same pattern, intricate but light and swift and free like a country dance of Mozart's. To touch heavily would be to arrest the pattern and freeze the moment, to check the endlessly changing beauty of its unfolding. There's no place here for the possessive clutch, the clinging arm, the heavy hand, only the barest touch in passing. Now arm in arm, now face to face, now back to back. It does not matter which, because they know they are partners moving in the same rhythm, creating a pattern together and being invisibly nourished by it. The joy of such a pattern is not only the joy of creation, or the joy of participation. It is also the joy of living in the moment. Lightness of touch and living in the moment are intertwined." A wonderful thought about relationships in the smallest sense and in the largest. There's another reading that's often used in wedding ceremonies that in fact was not meant, it was not written for love in the couple kind of love, in eros, but more in the agape love. It comes from Paul's letters to the Corinthians, chapter 13, verses 4 through 8, when Paul is writing back to this new and young and free church in Corinth, trying to find their way but struggling. And he wrote, "Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Any congregation would be wise to listen to the words of Paul. Our early congregations from which Unitarian Universalism blossomed were independent, free churches trying to match that sense of newness and freedom and excitement of the early Christian churches. They worked hard to find language. And of course, they had the words of Paul to think about. They had each other to talk to and think through what it means to gather together. One of the affirmations that I shared with you last week that is indicative of those kinds of conversations and that kind of experience testifies to a group conversation about what does it mean to live together and how do we mark that sense of togetherness. It's an affirmation that many congregations in our movement share every Sunday morning. Love is the doctrine of this church, and the quest for truth is its sacrament. Service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. And last week I spoke about our covenantal tradition and how we are not a creedal faith, and that any question about what we believe or what we think is not an appropriate question for us. It's not about what we believe together, but how we choose to live together that's important. How do we come together in a covenantal relationship and move forward in the spirit of love? The covenant holds us to our highest principles, our dedication to the ideal of love in the largest sense. And yet, we are human beings, which I think by definition means that we aren't perfect, that we make mistakes. And so we do move forward with a clear understanding that we will be disappointed somewhere along the way. That we will be disappointed by our community and will not want to be in the same room, as Emma Merchant writes. And we ourselves will disappoint others. I know that I have. But we also understand that that's not the end. That being in covenant, living in right relationship means we come back together recognizing who we are and who each of us individually are in the context of we. Quaker teacher and philosopher Douglas Steere wrote that the ancient question, who am I, inevitably leads to a deeper question, whose am I? Because outside of relationship, there is no reality. No one can be a person all by themselves. Victoria Safford, one of our wonderful UU ministers, wrote that to ask, whose am I, begs a number of other questions that push each of us to consider outside of our own little self-absorbed bubble. With whose life, whose lives is my own life all bound up? Inextricably in obvious, invisible ways. To whom am I accountable? Who needs me? Who loves me? Whose life is altered by my choices? We think about what Emma Merchant wrote in her essay, and growing up in a Unitarian Universalist congregation that obviously held her well, she felt those connections as part of who she was. wouldn't it be wonderful if each one of us could feel that sense of connection, that wholeness that comes in being in the room with everyone? Many of us in this congregation and in many Unitarian Universalist churches come to Unitarian Universalism from other places, from other denominations, or from unchurched lives, seeking something. And it is in that seeking, in that understanding what that is, what that yearning is to arrive at a place like this, that we find the kernel of our own hope, our own connection. Because what I believe is that we yearn for that connection, for that community, for that sense of wider love that we can tap into, that we can feel lifts us and gives us hope. But again, we do make mistakes. Martin Buber, Jewish philosopher and educator, once wrote that individually and collectively human beings are the promise-making, promise-keeping, and promise-breaking, and promise-renewing creatures. We go through these cycles all the time. And in the best of congregations, there exists the ability, the flow, the sense of movement that allows us to come back together again and again. But that doesn't just happen. As individuals have or do not have integrity, so it is true for congregations. Congregations with integrity, we're usually talking about congregations where the patterns of our relationships, like those of a dance, are visible and familiar, and in the best of circumstances are light and swift and free. That we are moving in a rhythm together, knowing the bounds of our shared consciousness, our shared love, understanding our covenant with one another, to continue to grow despite our setbacks. Keeping covenant isn't all that simple, and yet it is who we are, who we aspire to be, who we need to be able to turn ourselves around and step out of our doors and be of service to a wider world. And we do this because we are social creatures. We need one another. We absolutely need one another to experience and to learn and to grow, to experience the best of life. The greatest blessings of life come to us when we do commit to one another, to be our best selves, to encourage others to find their way, and turn around and ask the world what it needs and meet that need with our own gifts. Covenant with a capital C is that kind of glue I've been talking about. And then there's covenant with a small c, those kind of covenants we build when we gather together in smaller groups, the board of trustees or our chalice circles. We sort of tend to list the things that we want to hold up as important in that group. And sometimes we do that by rote. We just sort of throw them out there and put them on the wall, and they're good. And sometimes we don't think enough about them. One of our sort of most familiar covenantal items is assume best intentions, which is wonderful. And yet it begs the reality that sometimes we do something or say something that actually hurts another. And assuming best intentions doesn't change the hurt. And so one of the things we need to think about is how we honor those times when we ourselves disappoint or hurt other people. and step into those brave spaces of encounter where there's opportunities to grow more deeply into love. We know each other initially by what we say or how we say it. We judge one another by whether or not our actions back up the words we speak. We discover each other more deeply when we take the time to listen with the goal of true understanding. We love one another when, with humility, we can see clearly our own joy, our own pain, our own strengths mirrored in the eyes of those we choose to be with, our fellow travelers. So in this congregation, this beautiful place we have created, the legacy we appreciate of those who came before. Let it be a dance we do, not holding back, but recognizing that hope lies in the spaces between each and every one of us. Let's commit ourselves with such humility to the future, loving and working to dwell together in peace, remembering those who have labored in the past to provide us with this opportunity to create together an even larger community of peace, justice, and love. So may it be. The benediction I say every Sunday, and I offer this up every once in a while, came from the Reverend Gary Smith, who retired a year or two before I arrived at First Parish in Concord, Massachusetts. He was their minister for 23 years. And this reading came out of various snippets from Paul's letters, mostly from the letters to the Thessalonians. But it is a wonderful sort of adaptation of the language, the encouragement that any one of us can give to our congregation and our individual members. Go out into the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings. Have a wonderful day.